Thank you for sticking around. We are here talking with some of the folks at Oakcrest Elementary School about the successes that they are having at their school. And Leigh Ann South has now joined Principal Denny Wilson and I. Leigh Ann, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
You are the Family and Community Liaison at the school. That is a super big title. What does that mean exactly?
I spend my time working with our families, our partners in education, volunteers, really kind of filling in when those needs arise, because what we have found out is when a family, or we have a family that may be going through a crisis or having a situation come up, I'm able to drop what I'm doing and stop and try to do what we can to help address those needs.
And what kind of, tell me what your typical day is like.
Well, usually I'm out meeting kids at breakfast, trying to, there might be some children I'm touching base with that maybe we've had a conversation with the day before, about some needs in the family or things like that, and I might kind of pull them to the side and talk to them, make sure everything's going okay. Sometimes if we have students come in off the bus, they need a coat, they might need a change of clothes and things like that. I'm dealing with that maybe first thing. Always parents that walk in, a lot of new registrations, especially throughout the year. We know those families are in transition, and I need to meet with them or introduce myself to them and see if they have those needs that come up that maybe we could help them address or help them navigate the system, because we know that can be really difficult, and there's so many phone numbers, there's so many agencies, and trying to really make sure that we target in and give them what they need.
And you touched on that, it's a big system and it can be hard to know who to call or where to go, and at your school, that's you. That's a big job.
Yes, and it's we have so many wonderful agencies in the Escambia County that are reaching out and trying to help, and it's just nice to kind of be that plug where you can help them narrow in, and they're not spending their time on that, and they know exactly where to call than themselves getting frustrated and trying to figure out what to do.
Right, and I know that some of what you do too is working on funding streams, grants, and other kinds of things to supplement things in the school. Talk about some of the United Way grants that you've worked on to get technology in the classroom.
Yes, we started with the kindergarten program, because bottom line, everything comes down to relationships in our world. We all know that. And so we started with a first flight program for our kindergartners, and we wanted to bring these families in. We wanted to establish that relationship, make kindergarten a great positive experience, and help, because I know I have a 19-year-old son, and kindergarten has changed dramatically in those years from what is expected now, and changes almost on a yearly basis sometimes on those expectations, and we need to make sure that we're making our families comfortable and building that relationship and knowing what they're doing. So we started with kindergarten and started with a lending library, sending books home, back and forth. Then we were able to follow those kids into first grade and get Kindles for each classroom, and helping our students learning how to navigate technology. That is a huge thing going forward, because all assessments going forward are all going to be on the computer, and learning how to navigate and being able to have those skills is so important. So
there's no more bubble form?
I know.
All the time I spent learning to bubble in with the number 2 pencil is gone.
So all those little tiny things you may not think about that can help improve a child and improve their test score, that's what we want to do, is equip them so they don't have that when they're going into the test, or that worry that, oh my goodness, what do I click on or what do I do?
Right. What do I do? I don't know what this looks like. I've never seen the computer do this before.
Exactly. So that's one thing that we've done, and then we're working on future ideas also on how to take those kids and our other students at all times, and we sit down with our teachers and say, what do you want to do? Let's dream big. Let's talk about what we want to do and go from there. So.
Well, that is very exciting. And your first graders now are in their second year of this effort?
Well, this is the first year that they're using the Kindles. Okay. Our kindergartners, we started with building those relationships with a lending library where students took books home. And this is our first year with our students actually having Kindles in the classroom for small group instruction, math instruction, that they're utilizing them throughout the day.
It's really smart, I think, to capitalize on the excitement that a parent has about kindergarten, because everybody, that's a big deal. I have young children there. One will be a kindergartner soon, the other is a second grader, and that sets the tone for not just the child's experience for school, but for the parent's experience too. And it's very important, I think, for that to be a good feeling, because if you turn a parent off right then, you might not ever get them back, let alone their child.
Exactly, and if we set our students up for success, which we're trying to do at school every day, and we can hopefully set our parents up for success, and we need to inform them. That's on us. We need to make sure they understand those expectations and what's going on, and making sure we know their name when they walk in the door and that they feel welcome, and go from there. And just you're building upon that relationship that we want to have in 5th grade when they're leaving us, you know.
Your families need a little more than families at other schools. What are some of the challenging parts of that? I mean, Denny has talked to me about you having to have staff there with a deep emotional well-being because it's hard work, and there are going to be bumps in the road. It's not a job for everyone, and I would imagine a job like yours is even more so not for everyone.
You know, there are needs that our families have. And the way that I always address it, and the way I really see our other teachers address it, is we're kind of like missionaries, and that we're out there trying to figure out those needs for them. I mean, I have families all the time that may be struggling with insurance questions. You know, what has happened with this Medicaid? They've gotten, you know, a 3 or 4 page letter in the mail, and they're not for sure. Is that changing? What do I need to do? They're new into town. Who do I go to the doctor? I'm not for sure. You know. So many of those things, and you know, and then there's those times where you have a family come in, and you know, pretty much they have come into town and they may not have anything, and then we can look at 3 or 4 months later where you know, just through wonderful agencies in this town where we've gotten them established, we have their child, you know, in some after school care, they're working, and you just see that is what you just those bright spots, and we have so many at Oakcrest, but that's just some of the things that you get to see, and you're going, wow. You know, it's a wonderful.
It pays off.
Yes,
It's good stuff. Because I think, you know, there's some of your children come from impoverished backgrounds, but that doesn't mean that they can't do everything that any other kindergartner or first grader should be able to do. And that can be a challenging message, and sometimes they start farther behind than their peers do at other schools. But closing the gap is important.
And we don't lower expectations. We have students that are gifted. We have students that are accepted into Brown Barge and go on, and so that's our expectation, that our students can do, and they can. And that, I feel like that's one of the things that I've tried to do as well as part of my journey there at Oakcrest is to be kind of a myth buster about students from poverty and parents that are living in situations that are difficult, because my parents have the same dreams for their kids that I have for my own kids, and Miss South has for hers, and that's for them to do better than we've done, and to have everything that they want open to them. So they just have a few more obstacles. Some of our parents, they work like crazy, but they're one crisis, you know, away from being in serious trouble, and they're working hard, and it doesn't take where we can bounce back. We have resources and other family members that can step in. Sometimes they don't have that, and we try to keep our kids away from having to deal with mobility issues if we can, and doing whatever we can to just create a stable environment so they can be successful.
Well, I mean, elementary school it's definitely not like, certainly when I was in elementary school, a lot more is required of all of our kids now. And that's what they need to be worrying about, what they have to do in the classroom, not all the other stuff. If y'all can help keep the other stuff over here for a little while, that's a good thing. Testing season is going to come up. How do you feel about your kids for this year? Are we prepped? Are we going to have a good result this year?
Well, I mean, that was kind of the way you opened the show. You're talking about how things are changing and all the different, you know, we are still bubbling this year, but there are changes coming. There are going to be different expectations, and the expectations always seem to be out there and growing. But the main thing to me is that it's good instruction. It's making sure that students are prepared, and that teachers are planned well, and that we are giving them our best effort. And whatever the test is and whatever the standard or the bars raised, we're going to meet it, and we're going to meet that challenge, and our students, we're going to have them as ready as we can have them.
Well, I know that they are going to do the very best that they can. They have a wonderful staff behind them. Thank you all so much for all the work that you do. every day over there. And I'm so pleased that you could both come and be with us. That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
And we're just representing a large number of great teachers that are at Oakcrest
Absolutely, yes.
Elementary, so we appreciate
Absolutely.
the opportunity to represent them.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. And if you stick around, we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Thanks.